In this short video recording, I'm going to show you how to think through a basic chemistry question that you will likely find at least one or two of on your first exam coming up at the end of this week. So let's get started. So if you were to see a question like this: oxygen has an atomic number of 8 and a mass number of 16, what is the maximum number of covalent bonds it can participate in? Now, at first glance, this is quite a difficult question, to, especially if you don't understand the background vocabulary. So, first of all, before we get into the more details of this, let's go over some of the basic vocabulary terms. So, atomic number. What is atomic number? The atomic number is the number of protons which a certain atom has. And it's what determines what atom it actually is. Now, mass number, on the other hand, is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. And we'll talk about what protons and neutrons are in just a minute. So if we were to look at the periodic table, you would see something like this. This is carbon. Let's see if my mouse works. Here we go. This is carbon right here. So the atomic number is 6, meaning it has 6 protons in the nucleus, and a mass number of 12, and that's the number of neutrons plus the number of protons. And it's kind of an average. Sometimes there's more neutrons, that's why there's a 0.01. Not really important for this class. So then we have the nucleus of the atom. So here's just a diagram of a carbon atom. This would be the nucleus here, and it contains protons and neutrons. So we have some positive charges in here. The little circles that are red, those are protons. Protons are positively charged. And the green little balls in here are neutrons, which are neutral, meaning they have no charge. So those are contained in the nucleus. And on the outside, we can see that we have electrons, which are negatively charged, and these are these blue circles in these little rings. And the picture depicts this as a first energy level and the second energy level. So one thing that, if you listen to the lecture, and hopefully you did, Vicky pointed out that in the first energy level there's only 2 electrons. So that's why there's only 2 here. And then the outermost shell, or the shells outside of that, how many electrons are in those shells? Think about that for a minute. The answer is 8. There's 8 electrons in those outer shells, and that's significant. Well, there's 8 to be happy. So carbon only has 6, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In order to be happy, carbon would need 8 electrons in this second energy level in order to be completely stable. And that's why different atoms bond. And in another video, I'll talk a little bit more about bonding and the 3 types of bonding that we'll be concerned with for this class. So these are some important terms to definitely know. Atomic number and mass number. You could easily see a question about mass number. So she could say carbon has an atomic number of 6 and a mass number of 12. How many neutrons does carbon have? So in that case, you would know that there's 6 protons because the atomic number was given. Mass number is protons plus neutrons. So you just take 6 minus 12 and get the number of neutrons. So make sure you can think through questions in that amount of detail. So let's get back to our original question. Oxygen has an atomic number of 8 and a mass number of 16. What is the maximum number of covalent bonds it can participate in? So in order to do a question like this, I would strongly suggest just diagramming a quick little atom, and that will help you to know exactly how many electrons you have. So let's do that. So here's our first energy shell in the nucleus. The nucleus is in red. That first energy shell is blue. So let's just start adding some electrons. We have 8 electrons because our molecule is neutral. So we also have 8 protons. So we have 8 electrons because it's neutral. So 1, 2, and now our first energy shell is filled, so we got to move out to our second energy shell. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so when I do this, I like to group my electrons together so I can see exactly how many more I need. So we have 2 missing electrons in order for oxygen to be completely happy, which means it needs 2 more electrons, or it can covalently bond with 2 more atoms. So if we brought in these 2 hydrogen atoms to make water, they share these electrons, and now this oxygen has 8 electrons in its outermost shell. So the answer to this question would be C, 2. It can covalently bond with 2. The maximum number of covalent bonds is 2. She could also ask this question a little bit differently and ask you how many are in the outermost shell. In that case, the answer would be 6. There's 6 electrons in that outermost shell. So hopefully this helps you to be able to think through some chemistry questions so you can perform well on that portion of the exam.